Let's start this by talking about what the high feminine is and what it's not. The high feminine is not a yes, ever. She does not carry a yes in her system towards anything. And this is extremely important to understand, especially once we get to the business part that I want to talk about today. Because what I want to talk about today is specifically container versus frame in business. This is not so much about the energetics of the container versus the frame, even though it is. But this is about the physical frame, the program, the offer that you create, that you hold for yourself, not for people. And how those two differ. And it's not just about the price and the length of the offer. It is about what you do once you're in the frame with someone. And how you actually activate anyone's genius. Which is what most people do not know how to do. Still, even though I know of many people who have told for years that this is what they do. When you create a container, and this is important to understand, when you create a container, you can make a lot of money. The results are never the proof of which one you're in. Never. And they are. But you can create quantity. The stronger the container, the more it can hold. And the more you can make. You can make a lot of money. There are plenty of millionaires and billionaires who are so far up in their swamp. And they're struggling energetically. They're dying inside, but they have it all. A container is created from a yes. It is a process of yes, of building, of constructing a container. It is created from a vision. You have the purpose, you have the vision for the container, you have the goals for the container. You build the container from all of these different parts. And you say yes to all of the parts that make up the container. Which is not the point. The point is that when you're creating a frame, it is a process of elimination. A frame is created from turn down. Always. And every single part of it. It's a process of elimination. And when I say process, I don't mean time. It is you turning down every single thing that is imaginable. You do not create it from vision. You do not create it with a purpose in mind. You create it with the know that your high feminine holds. If we take an example of a frame. Yesterday I was reading a post about how someone who literally calls herself a wealth witch created a new container. And it sold. It sold so fucking well. She created, she downloaded, divinely downloaded the container. It took her multiple days and depleted her of energy creating that container, which is what it does, of course. Your feminine has to hold it all. She has to decide. She has to say yes. When you create a frame, it takes no time. I was on a call 2 hours ago, and at the end of the call, this is a former client of mine, like a current client of mine, which was, she was in a different frame. And at the end of the call, I had to turn on to switch up the frame. And I did not know what the frame was. It had not been created yet. I created it on the spot. The process of elimination doesn't take time, because you do not use anything in the physical. You don't need anything in the physical. You simply need your no, and eventually you need the taste of your turn on. You need to recognize the taste of your turn on. So it takes 5 fucking seconds to create a frame that fully turns you on. I created it, I sold it to her, she paid in full. A frame, both you creating the frame and also you working with your clients in that frame, you do both of those things from your high feminine. And it's a sequence of no, stillness, submission. There is no yes anywhere in there. Submission is not a yes. If you're able to say yes, like a full-on fuck yes to something, it's not submission. Because submission is towards the unimaginable. And the tension in the unimaginable, no matter what stage you're in the energetics, will trigger your swampy. And your swampy is the one that says yes. And she will not say yes to submission. When you submit to a turn on, it doesn't feel like a yes. It feels like stillness. It feels like free falling. It feels like knowing, and it feels like no thing. But it doesn't feel like a yes. And this is where we get to the fun part, working with clients. I just witnessed, how do I say this? A client of a former protege, of a former mentor, write a post about submission. And that's fine, like you can use, anybody can write about submission. Is the energy there? No. Are they actually talking about submission? No. But anybody can use that word. The energetic inaccuracies in that post were palpable. Even most likely to someone who is not where I am. They were pretty obvious. And their mentor is cheering them on in that post, in the comments. The reason why you will not hear me say yes to a client or cheer them on or do any other thing that requires a yes from me. It's because the no, stillness, submission applies to working with your clients. I will turn down their creations energetically until I can submit to their creations. And at that point, it does not require a physical yes from me. They can feel the energy. Agreeing with something that you can't submit to is not helping people. It is not supporting them. It's not even holding space for them. It is containing them. It is done because something matters. And if something matters to you when you're working with a client, when you're out there with a friend, when you're with your kids, when you're with an animal, when you're with somebody that you care about, does not help them. It energetically confines them even more. And while it's not your responsibility to, well, you have no responsibility towards anyone. And it doesn't matter whether what you do confines them or not. When you know, you have the knowing that you actually love people, even though the way you express that love is not the way that the collective sees love. It is not a turn on for you to confine them or deplete them of the chance, of the freedom to actually experience the full free fall into submission. It is not a turn on for your high feminine to contain anyone or anything. She will not do that. In fact, the second you do that, your own high feminine is out the door. The second you create a container, she's out the door. These energetics, and the energy of submission, especially the energy of submission, is precise. You cannot yes your way into it. It is not possible. It is not energetically possible. Turn down. The turning down of every single thing that is imaginable, that already exists, that is possible, that can be envisioned. Turning down everything that would be receptive to a yes, that would resonate with a yes. the actual turn on of the high feminine in using her no is to create a field where there is no resonance. That is the only field where you can actually create from genius. That is what genius requires, period. And it's only slightly hilarious that these people that talk about submission have been in the exact same place energetically for over 2 years. Slightly shifting the things that they talk about. Slightly stumbling onto something new that somebody else created that resonates with them. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason why your Swampy Feminine collects very specific words and phrases and things that resonate with you. And it has to do with your high feminine. But not because you're supposed to say yes to them. No. What your Swampy Feminine resonates with becomes a play toy for your high feminine so that she can disrupt the matter around the thing. This is what happened with me and the concept of the feminine. For example, there was a certain resonance, and I hated the entire concept of the feminine. But I didn't. I hated, and I did not, and I could not resonate with the collective ideas and beliefs and illusions about the feminine. Same thing that I told a client earlier today when she said that, on the other hand, there's a turn on for her towards the heart. On the other hand, she hates the entire thing. Like, it, to her, it feels swampy. Everything that has to do with heart feels swampy to her. And it feels swampy because it is. The energy around it is swampy. The heart in itself is not. And instead of letting your Swampy Feminine, which this is all that she can do, she can only say no to an entire container at once, which means that she would say no to the heart, denounce the entire thing. This is what people do with certain words or certain things altogether. They make the thing obsolete. Relationships, friendships, because they cannot play with the energy and actually shift it anywhere. It's not possible to do that from the Swampy Feminine. She needs to surrender to a set container, and that set container contains a set of rules that she has to surrender to, and it also contains a set tone and quality of the experience. And there's no way to change it from inside the container. And there's no way for the feminine to control it in any way. Her options are to surrender to the container and just let go. or leave. And the problem with the swampy feminine is that there's a risk in saying no to the container, which is why people almost never do it. And even though they say no to the relationship, even though they say no to the word, even though they say no to the thing, they do not say no to the container because they still carry the energy with them to the next thing and the next thing. The quality stays the same. The reason is that, hold on, 1 second. Right. The reason and the risk in saying no is that there's no container. She needs a container to hold her matter. She has to have a container. She cannot be alive without a container. Which is why she keeps surrendering. And she tries to get the masculine to upgrade the container, to build on it, to expand it. And it doesn't work. Because once the quality of the container is set, it cannot be upgraded. It can be expanded so that it can hold more quantity. But the quality is set. That is a space that genius will never enter. It does not matter how high quality the container is. It does not matter what's in it. It does not matter what the masculine promises her. Nothing matters. The only way to change the container, to disrupt the container, and to construct the frame instead is to say no to the masculine. All of what he is offering. All of it. That's the only way. The masculine cannot be worked on. It cannot be upgraded from within the container. And the only way for the feminine to ever affect the masculine, the quality of masculine in her field, is to say no. Her power is in her no, all of it. It is never in the yes. A yes is an instant turn down for her. There's not enough tension. There's too much. I want to say space, but that's not the right word. Because when you actually hold space for anything, actually, she holds space, and he does hold space, right? The masculine holds space for no thing. That is the frame. But he doesn't hold space for anything. Do you have any questions? Because I'm pretty much done. This was supposed to be a post, but I didn't want to write